Hey guys, what is up? It's Chris here, and I just wanted to do a simple video of the new wing for Qadim CM, or just regular Qadim itself. So what I'm going to go through here is basically the mechanics for... Alright, first of all, let's go over the basic markings here in terms of where to place these markings for Qadim, for the Wing 7 boss here. Now you'll notice on the floor there is 6 circles, 3 small ones. This is a cleared instance. I'll probably show something on the screen that shows the pylons, and then something else later on when it comes to the mechanics here. But at the smaller circles, they are going to have pylons there, which you need to have one person tethered, as well as having that special action key started there. At the very start here, you want to split into 3 groups, and you want to CC down each 3 pylons, and then have the one person that is going to stay in the pylon stay at the pylon while everyone else goes to the boss. Now these people in the pylons, they are going to have to stay in the pylon area, so the green circle that spawns there. Otherwise, it's going to grow red, and then we got to CC it down before we can do more damage to Qadim. Now my best bet here in terms of who should be tethered to the pylons, people who have a lot of movement skills. So when we did it, we did have Scourges with portals, as well as possibly Fleshworm. And then we also had a Thief on the last pylon where it gets consumed at 20%. Now, when it comes to these people that are tethered, they're just going to stay in that area for the rest of the fight. It also depends on where the tank is going to be doing the tanking from. The way we tanked it is we had one chrono, and then he faced it towards heart area, which the person who's tethered at heart unfortunately got to take some damage, but we did have them in like a more tanky set here, so then he doesn't die to the auto attacks or anything like that. Now when it comes to tanking, you can either have a chrono or however you want to set it up. That's completely up to you. But the way it tanks is whoever's the closest to Qadim and has the active special action key is going to be the tank, and he's going to get a purple fixate above him. Now if that purple fixate is above anyone else and they have the skill active, you can just turn it off, and then it'll go to the person who does have it active. Now with my group here, the orange circles, we just call it a sky hammer because that's exactly what we remember it as well as a lot of us are PvP oriented, so we know exactly what that call out. There will be a person that is selected. You get like an orange border around your screen, and then you're going to drop orange circles on you. Now with the sky hammer, it's very easy to avoid. You would just have to start running out in an area that no one's at. He does it about 4 times, and then the last one is going to be a giant circle, which you can just simply dodge out of. So at the very beginning, you're going to start off at 95%. You start spawning these orbs here. And then at these orbs, they are going to be at the larger circles that are marked on the screen here. So the circle, square, and swirl. And also I'll play a little clip of the orb spawning. When the orbs spawn, you want to have the person who's tethered to it. And the way we did it was we did it counterclockwise, because that's how the orbs are going to spawn. Is that whichever the orb spawns first, so it's completely random where he spawns here. So it can spawn at either one of these here, so circle, square, or swirl on the screen. And when it spawns in one of these circles, every 5%, so 95 is when it starts, 90 and 85, it's going to go in a counterclockwise motion here. So the way we did it is whoever's at, say, like the tank side is going to get squares, so they're going to go to their counterclockwise. And then whoever's at like star on the screen right here is going to go to swirl, and then whoever's out an arrow is going to go to circle. That way there's no confusion when it comes to the people that are doing the tethered and then going back into the tethered mode, because what you want to happen is you want to have these people grab the orb and then bring it back to the pylon so that it gets attached to the pylon. So the reason for the orbs here is that the amount of orbs that are connected to the pylon is the amount of people that can be tethered to it. Now, when it comes to these orbs here, they're actually very unique in terms of this fight here. I think ANET designed this to have only 1 chrono in terms of the fight, because whoever's tethered to the pylon is going to get 4 boons. And those 4 boons are typically quickness, might, alacrity, and I think vigor. I'm not entirely sure, but you do get boons. So for example, if one person is tethered to arrow side and there is 1 orb, then someone in the middle can actually press the special action key, which turns on the tank mode, but if the tank is already there, he's going to be fixated on them. Now at 80%, it's a special mechanic here where you get floated up in the air and you have an orange circle above you. Don't panic. What you want to do here, and we did find this out by someone else who was raiding with us. It was a person, I can't remember the name, I think it was Luna. They actually pointed out to us that if you drop the fire fields in certain locations, so you can actually ignore pretty much the distortions that spawn, and distortions are like the anomalies that spawn. Now, when it comes to the 80%, the places that I'm going to show on the screen is where you want to mark them here, so I'm just going to move the marks that are currently out there. So you want to place the marks on these little diamonds here. You can see it on the screen. I'll show examples of us dropping it in certain places. So you want to place it on this diamond here, this diamond here, and then you want to pretty much the tank, a healer. Typically we had a Tempest that was healing with the tank and staying on his side, and also the person who's at heart wants to drop theirs right on this diamond here. And then you go back to CCing the pylons to get back to Qadim, because you will have to do the beginning event again at 80%. When you're back to Qadim here and then you're DPSing him, once he gets to 75, he spawns the orbs again, you know, typical situation. However, there's going to be an additional ad that spawns, which is called the distortion, or we called it the anomaly. Now the anomaly is going to spawn on these giant circles here, the same places as the orbs, and I believe it goes in a clockwise motion. So you may have some instances where the orb and the anomaly or distortion is going to spawn in the same place. Now when that happens, it's a little bit of a difficult situation because if your person can get the orb out of there before the anomaly spawns, you're good. But if they don't and they spawn at the same time, unfortunately there's going to be a giant explosion that comes from the anomaly. But if you manage to get past that here, the places where you place the fire fields, all you would have to do to the distortion, and the reason I say these specific locations is because when you drop the fire field in this location and then CC the distortion in that fire field, the fire field will actually kill the distortion for you. You don't have to send anyone out, you just have to CC it down to the point where it's CC'd in the fire field, and about 2 stacks of fire field will kill that distortion easily here. The one that spawns on square here, it doesn't go towards, say, like heart. It starts walking towards the pylon to the south of it. So if you CC him in this tiny diamond area here, he's going to die from the fire field. Now the same can be said about the swirl. Swirl's going to go towards where square was going to, so the bottom left pylon here, who spawns right here. He's going to start walking towards heart, and if your fire fields are right here, and you CC him, he's going to die as well. So as you're DPSing him 75%, 70, and 65, the orbs will spawn again in the counterclockwise motion. And in the counterclockwise motion here, then each pylon will have 2 orbs after 65. At 60%, you're going to do the floating up in the air again. And when it comes to that here, the best places to drop the fire field this time would be on this diamond here, I'm showing on my screen, and then also this diamond right here. The reason being is that these 2 locations should not have fire fields already at them. And then at 60%, you just stack them up, and then you're good to go for the rest of the fight in terms of the distortions. Now, pretty much you're going to do the same exact thing. Things are going to spawn, the distortion's going to spawn until 40%, so once 60% hits, 55, 50, and 45, the orbs are going to spawn, and then also distortions are going to spawn throughout that process. At 40%, Qadim is going to actually go to the heart marker, so he's going to go north towards the throne area at the top. He's going to consume that pylon, and then drop a giant massive fire field, which, again, if you stay to the south here or stick close to like swirl, you won't get hit by the knockback eventually after he drops the fire field. But once the fire field happens and he's back in the middle, what's going to happen is typically a lot of people like to joke, go back into the middle and try and DPS him down, but please don't go back into the middle. The reason being is that once he goes back to the middle, he's going to do an AoE, which does a knockback, and you don't want to get knocked back into a fire field. Once he does the knockback thing here, the 2 pylons that are left are going to be CCable, and so you want to CC those 2 pylons down. So it's also note that there is going to be no more orbs spawning at this point here, so you don't need to go collect orbs for the people who are on the pylons. Again, when it comes to orbs, the max amount of orbs that a pylon can hold is 3. So the reason why we have them going out to get their own is because that guarantees that, you know, at these percentages, each pylon is going to have 3. And also you can do the tactic of tethering each other together and getting all those boons. So at 40%, he consumes one of the pylons here, so then you don't have a person, you know, stuck on the pylon here. They can come back to the group. And then you pretty much just DPS them down here. When it comes to the distortion or the anomaly that spawns in the north side, if they're still at square, they're going to go still towards the pylon. If they are at this location over here, I'm going to mark with arrow real quick. If they're at this location, they're going to start going to this pylon to the south. So that's pretty much the fight in terms of up to 40%, but then at 30%, he starts consuming another pylon, which he will be consuming this pylon over here, marked with a circle. So at 30%, he consumes that one here. Again, either have stability or get ready to dodge. Now, as you're fighting Qadim, again, anomaly is going to spawn here. The only thing you want to note for is when the anomaly or the distortion spawns at square, he's actually going to go towards Qadim, and then because Qadim counts as a pylon technically, and you want to pretty much CC and DPS him down. The way we did it is we had a bunch of scourges, we CC'd it down, and then had everyone epi off of Qadim, and then it basically killed the distortion. Now, once you hit 20%, he's going to do the last thing here. I do want to note that once he goes to the 20%, you want to make sure that everyone but the tank is still having the special action activation key on. You want to have everyone else turn it off. The reason being is once the last pylon is selected and consumed, you cannot turn that off. It becomes locked for some reason. Now, when it becomes locked for some reason, if you are locked and you still had it active, just make sure that the tank gets closest to Qadim first and gets fixate here. Otherwise, he will start auto-attacking the group as well as yourself. But again, at 20%, he consumes the pylon here, and then essentially all the distortions are going to start walking towards the middle into Qadim. Again, we did run scourges here, you know, roughly about 3 or so. And then once we CC the distortion and then epi the boss, we continue our fight on the boss here while the epi pretty much killed the distortion. Now at 10%, he doesn't do anything fancy. He just starts talking in the middle. You pretty much are basically good and clear for the fight in terms of after 20%. And pretty much at that point, it's a DPS check here, and then also make sure you epi those or kill those distortions. Otherwise, they will do a giant ass bomb that will down about, you know, roughly about 8 people. So that's pretty much the normal fight in terms of Qadim in the new wing here, Wing 7. And that is pretty much it in terms of Qadim the Peerless in Wing 7. I do wish everyone luck in terms of fighting this boss. It was a kind of a fun boss here for me. It was pretty easy. I wish there was a little bit more to it, but I did have fun in this this wing here because it also brought, you know, our groups together and we conquered it together pretty much. So I wish luck to everyone who's going to be attempting this wing. It's not too tough here. I'm also going to do a guide on the other 2 bosses for this wing. I just want to get this one out because we did clear CM here. Definitely reach out to me, comment, say anything that, you know, might help you or help your group. This is how we did it. This is not the overall guide here to doing Qadim the Peerless. Everyone is going to have their own different ways. So thank you for staying subscribed and watching my videos, and more guides to come here. Definitely will do other guides here for the other 2 bosses for this wing. So hopefully they will, you know, help you and get those kills here. Otherwise, thank you for watching my video, and you have a great rest of your day. Oh my god, I just noticed that this is not right. What is this? What is this? Why is it off? Come on, ain't it? What is this? This is ugly.